Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Gerard Goff. We warmly welcome the family of Flight Sergeant Keith McRae Smith, whose story will be told shortly. We also welcome Group Captain Bruce Chandler, representing the Air Force Association of Australia. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome the members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students from King's College from Warrnambool in Victoria. If able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Keith McRae Smith. Keith Smith was born on the 21st of July 1922, one of 13 children born to Colin and Mary Smith. Young Keith grew up and lived at Flodden Field, a sheep station near Canberra on the central western plains of New South Wales. He attended nearby Urungi Provisional School and went to work in a sawmill at Wabbaga. Keith's mother died in 1935, his father in 1939, and his older brother, Colin, became his legal guardian. In March 1941, a mobile recruiting unit came through Canberra. Keith enrolled in the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve and applied to be a member of aircrew. He admitted that he had previously tried to join the service while he was still underage. Around 6 months later, he was called up, and on the 16th of August 1941, 19-year-old Keith Smith joined the Royal Australian Air Force. He began training as a pilot at Narromine before embarking at Sydney on the 24th of April 1942. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, Smith was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operator air gunners and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Arriving in Canada in May, Smith attended special flight training school at Dauphin, Manitoba, before transferring to an operational training unit based at Royal Canadian Air Force Station, Penfield Ridge, in October. In early December, Smith was reprimanded for being drunk and creating a disturbance at the Roseland Dance Hall. In March 1943, Smith left Canada, arriving in the United Kingdom before joining No. 13 Operational Training Unit based at RAF Bicester in Oxfordshire. In late August, Smith was posted to No. 226 Squadron, which was then based at Swanton Morley in the English county of Norfolk, flying B-25 medium bombers. On 8th of November 1943, Keith's crew, along with other crews of 226 Squadron, were detailed to carry out a bombing raid. The target was a site that had been identified as a possible V-2 ballistic missile base. In fact, it was an underground military complex housing a battery of V-3 cannons aimed at London. The attack took place not long after sunrise on the 8th of November 1943, with Keith's aircraft positioned to the rear of the formation leader. As the formation approached the target, Keith's aircraft received a direct hit from an anti-aircraft shell on the port engine and wing. The aircraft burst into flames and spiralled to the ground. Crews of other aircraft in the formation reported that they saw 2 or 3 parachutes appear, and the aircrew were listed as missing. With no news of the fate of the crew, they were later posted as missing, presumed killed. It wasn't until much later that German reports confirmed the death of the crew, who had been buried at the regional cemetery in Marquise, France. Alongside 21-year-old Flight Sergeant Keith McRae Smith, his Canadian crew members, Flight Sergeants Berg, Cowison and Grenier, were laid to rest. Their remains were later reinterred at the Calais Canadian War Cemetery, where they lie today. Flight Sergeant Keith Smith's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Keith McRae Smith, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying there at Pozières, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.